Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be assigned as the last session of the day. Okay, so this shows that you guys are already committed. So allow me to introduce the rest of my panelists, a member of panelists, Mr. Erwin Fu from PUC. Yeah. And Mr. Divakar from Padang and Co. Okay, and Mr. Shen from LWE. Okay. Right. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for everybody to be here. So I think before we start, I'll get all the panel members to introduce themselves to give you a bit of context, right? What they do, where they come from, and then a little bit of what I think your company or your startups related to them in the context of data. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Lau. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Erwin Fu. I'm actually from PUC Berhad. So I'm a group CTO. I've been in IT industry for the past 18 years, but don't ask me how old I am. We just realized that just now that I'm the oldest one. Can you believe that I look so young? So
okay, the difference is not much, yeah.
Okay, so well, later on, I think I will touch base on come from 11th Street, one of the largest e-commerce platforms in Malaysia, and how do we handle the big data, and how do we do all this analytics, and how does this benefit the consumer as well for the seller. Although POCs actually come from angles from technology, not just e-commerce. We also have imaging solutions and a payment solution. But today we will just focus on 11th Street.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. First of all, thank you for sitting here despite being a long day. And happy to be the last one to wrap everything up as well. So I have a bit of background from running an accelerator based on data here in KL under ODI and MDEC. So I understand a bit of startup culture involving data. And at this moment, I'm attached to Padang and Co. So open innovation company based in Singapore. So we work a lot with corporates in unlocking innovation using data, AI, etc. So, yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Shen again. LW is a cross-border logistics company. We have presence in the entire Southeast Asia and Asia Pac. So we are a very big user of data because we connect to many different last-mile companies worldwide. So we provide services to many different countries, and we work with very big postal companies or last-mile companies. So in order for us to actually provide a very good service, we often have to look at the data and find out areas that we can fine-tune the processes together with our last-mile partners, as well as how we can use the data from our sellers and merchants to work closer with the customs, the borders of different countries to make our services a little bit more seamless. Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone. So I think we will start with some warm-up questions that everybody will benefit from. Is a bit cliche, but I would say, corporates always say, what are the lowest hanging fruits, or what's the lowest hanging fruits, or even like, durian runtuh. That's so easy for everybody to do, but somehow the e-commerce merchants, I believe that most of you are e-commerce merchants, e-commerce sellers, yeah, that they didn't do, but it's so easy to do, and estimation of how much money they left on the table, for example.
Okay, so I'll just go on that. I think the most important thing is to get the data structure or strategy right within the company. So it can be as basic as what data are you even collecting? Are you collecting it right? Are you storing it properly? And can you retrieve it well in future? And set the goal of the data very, very clearly. Like, are you going to benefit in terms of sales? Are you going to improve your customer service? Are you going to improve your service or your next product? Or even then, are you going to use that data to train machine learning models for an AI deployment later in the future? So that is very important. I think it's a core that need to be corrected.
I think a lot of you have read a lot of about big data and how to use big data to understand your customer behavior, to offer their best service. But actually, this is, to my point of view, is only half steps. Fundamentally, firstly, you need to understand that you are running a business and you are selling a product, or you are running a unique points for yourself. You need to understand yourself first before you go and identify what kind of data that you need to collect.
Yep.
So a lot of people that actually don't foresee that, they just open the shops or just create online platforms, just want to sell the things, but they actually haven't really identified who they are and what they want to achieve. That one, to me, is the most important thing. Like 11th Street said, when we first started, until now, we keep evolving. We don't just position ourselves as just an online platform, just a marketplace. We're actually trying to evolve ourselves that how do we help the user experience is better? How do we help the sellers to sell their products more easily? And how do we help them to decide what is the trend later on? So I think the fundamental is still very, very important.
I think just to add on, maybe a little bit more layman from what I see, because we deal with a lot of small, medium merchants, sellers from different countries. So what you can do with the data, basically, a lot of them, sometimes they don't actually put enough attention, they don't pay enough attention to find out, okay, what kind of pattern can I see from the kind of purchases that I have? What's the geographical spread out of my different products? Which products more popular in what region? And then how can I tie my user experience, like what you're saying? So user experience, a big part of it is about how your last mile company is performing in those places, and what kind of data can you get from your last mile company, put it together with your orders and see, okay, maybe a certain region I have to be careful. Customers may not be very happy over there because the delivery is a bit longer and things like that.
I think I'm happy that the panels today, they're actually quite very technical compared to where technical people turn into businessmen in a sense, right? So Shen Yao, my question to you is that let's dig a little bit into that. What is the hardest part when it comes to those things? Like, why are they not doing that? So for example, the geographical spread out, or how well the last mile is performing and stuff like that.
I think a lot of times is how are you going to collect all this data? To what extent? How many dimensions can we go into?
Yeah.
Who are the partners we work with to get the data? Say for example, say 11th Street. If we work with 11th Street, I get the order from 11th Street, I start shipping. Is there any way I can partner with 11th Street closer to get this data as a merchant? Or is there any insights that 11th Street can give it to me after we do certain campaign successfully? And then with logistic companies, I would like to know all my orders to different countries, okay? What causes certain places to have a longer delivery lead time? And what are the other things I can improve based on the historical data I have by shipping through these companies? Yeah. So the challenge over here is how are you going to work with these people, finding the know-how to collect this data together, and then after that, with all this data, what kind of solution you have, vendors that you can work with to actually collate this data together.
Yep. Diva, maybe you can add on a little bit for the audience is that we all know that Unilever is a very huge company, but they're probably more familiar with Procter & Gamble, for example, right? So large companies like yours, I mean, my mom knows P&G, but don't know Unilever until today. So larger companies like yours, how do you see those data? Okay, from a data scientist point of view, like I mentioned earlier, right, is a machine learning model or whatever Excel spreadsheet, you throw in any data, when the data is large enough, you get significance, you get beautiful charts and stuff. But for them, right, when they have a relatively smaller, more focused type of data sets, and you have been mentoring with ODI, so some of the things that they can do?
Yes, I think that's a very good point. I believe relating the same application to a startup or young entrepreneur compared to a bigger, larger corporate like Unilever, it's very important because Unilever, the struggle is they have a lot of data, and the issue usually is how do we innovate that data? Where else the startup is, they are already with a very innovative idea.
Yes.
It's just that they don't have a lot of data to go ahead and deploy. So a very simple use case is even finding your right customer, right? So initially, like I can share in a real life example, like the image that you see over there, I'm wearing something on my head. It's a wearable device that actually sends your brain signal. So we initially developed the device for dementia patients to actually train the cognitive functions to improve your memory and stuff like that. But when we started the whole marketing campaign, we went out there, reached out to people, but we found out that the ones who were buying were not the target group that we were intending. It was actually parents with kids. So that's where we understood the Kiasu parent strategy is much more effective, and we changed the whole campaign. So what educated us as a young startup was actually the data. The final outcome, like the geographical region that they were explaining, like you might be catering your product to Malaysia, but the one that's buying from your portal is from Indonesia. So if you can spend your resource or your marketing strategy towards that culture, demographics, the outcome is much bigger.
Okay. So for Erwin, my question for you will be things like, okay, say 11 streets, right? Can you give us a bit of examples how you help us or help the sellers in terms of personalizations or help them to manage their customers better based on what Diva has told us?
I think for the past few years, we actually collect a lot of data, tons of millions of data. Firstly, mainly for our internal research. But I think we do have a plans that in the midterms and the long-term plans that to share some very important insights to allow customers and allow our sellers to understand not just simply like how popularity of their products, which ones sell the best, but in terms of the customer behavior.
Yep.
So what kind of trends that is coming along in Malaysia, and where does the user stops at their page, what kind of things that can help them to shape their business strategy easily. I share one, unfortunately I cannot name the merchant name, but one of the merchants actually very benefit from our systems is initially their online strategies, they implement the same as their offline strategy, but after going with us for quite a period of time, that through our data analytic tools, they are able to identify that actually their online and the target audience for their online and the behavior is totally different from their offline experience. And this is a very, very important information for them to quickly change their business strategy. Again, just how I mentioned that you have a lot of data with you doesn't mean you will success.
Yep.
Just like I give you $1 million. Oh, sorry, this one is not a good example.
You can
I
look at
give
his
you
t-shirt,
$1 million, you sure you will know how to use it. But if I give you tons of data, doesn't mean that you know how to analyze it, and even I give you the very beautiful graph, pie charts, analytics, a trend, whatever, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is, do you really understand your customer, and do you really understand that what kind of service that you want to provide?
Yeah.
So that is a differentiator between you and your competitor.
I think it's a way that data help us to understand our customers better, faster, and then be able to adapt, right? But my previous experience with your 11th Street major competitor, the one that start with L one, no, the one start with S, or start with C. Whenever we buy a ladder from them, then the second time they send me emails to buy more ladders and stuff like that. I mean, what went wrong there? So, if you can share a little bit, that was my personal interest, but I'm sick of buying ladders, to be honest. Yeah.
Again, this is about business strategy.
Yeah.
That's why this is one of the examples of utilizing the big data. Maybe they use in the wrong way. They keep bothering you with the ladders, So it's not easy, but that it requires a lot of a different skill set, and not just simply from the seller angle or the buyer angle. It's actually come from the platform itself. So the platform need to continuously adopting what would be the best and what would be the good approach. Like this one, to me, may not be a good approach for this kind of customer.
Exactly.
So we can learn from it and even introduce some very good AIs and some very good chatbots and some automations that we can eliminate some of the behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I set the stage up very nicely. We talk about all those things that keep you excited: AI, big data, data science. So you feel good now, you're ready to go. But that's not the end of the session. So now we're going to talk about some of the things that you don't really want to hear. So maybe I think start with Chanel, because LWE, you do a lot of cross-border transactions, logistics services, right? How fast can you deliver your company, sorry?
So typically, we don't talk about fast, but we talk about coming with a service that's more suitable for e-commerce sellers.
Yeah, so for them.
So you have something that, if you want something really fast, you can have a lot of express company who can give you a 2-day service, 3-day service. But how much are you paying? At the same time, if you want something really cheap, but how long is it going to take and how reliable is going to be there? So that's why we provide services that come in between, something acceptable by the consumers, but at the same time, it's also somewhere economical enough for you to build into your selling cost to ship overseas. So generally, say for example, we ship out to different countries. We are talking about 3 to 5 working days to cover the entire major cities in the different countries. Say for example, Indonesia. You talk about Medan, Jakarta, all these places. Within 3 to 5 days, it's not a problem.
Okay. Now, Diva, you work with ODI. I mean, you help with MDAC in terms of mentoring the startups and shape them into data awareness. I mean, I mentor some of the startups as well before they enter the program, right? So can you share with us a bit of the struggles? That's the thing that I would like to discuss that will benefit them. Some of the 1 or 2 common struggles that you see with them when it comes to adopting data.
Yeah. So
don't tell them data scientist is expensive, that sort of stuff. Apart from that,
yeah. So I think their perception of data itself is pretty shallow, to a certain extent, where even some of them don't even know what kind of data they need to collect.
Yep.
So it goes down to fundamental, and then all the way up to how do they crunch the data. So they have good data points, they have collected the data, but how would the insight help them to improve the business? So these are the common challenge that the startups face, which we usually address them by matching the right mentor to give them like data scientists to assist them. So, and also a lot of them have a misconception that crunching data is expensive. It requires a lot of resource, but actually no. They can self-educate them. Like I had an intern joining me on Monday. Today he is using Python to crunch data for me. So it can be learned over just a couple of YouTube videos. It's how much you want it, actually.
Yeah. Okay, and then Python is free and open source. Yeah, they can download it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Erwin, maybe you share a bit with us. You've seen a lot of same thing. We were talking about struggles here and then the challenges, right? What about those merchants? So, we see a lot of people. In China they talk about O2O, online to offline, offline to online. I believe that most of you here, you are somewhat experienced in selling in retail business. But what about the challenges when they take offline to online? When they come to your platform, what are the common pain points or struggles that you see from them, and your advice to them, of course?
From online to offline, it's actually totally different from the currents that we are seeing right now. So the challenge that I still see how they evolve from here is they don't really adopting the behavior, because just like just now. I think there's an audience say that I don't use Instagrams or social network. How do I make my business success in Instagram and social network? To me, it's very hard, because if you don't believe in this platform or this model, it's actually very hard for you to success in this model. So if you really want to bring the online to offline, you have to identify what kind of unique ways that you can provide it into the system, and utilizing anything that can help you to transform the experience. The experience is very, very important. Data is meaningless if this is just a data. What is the big data collections and the analysis actually is a long-term process. So once you collected the data, you have to know how to transform it to information. And the informations then help you to make key decisions, form and shapes your strategy, then come back to the data that you collected, and the cycle will come back again and again. And this one is not just for you to understand your client or for you to understand your customer, it's also for you to understand how are you going to collaborate with other partners. Just like 11th Street and the logistic company, how do we collaborate together effectively using the data that we collect? Yeah.
Okay. Now, Diva, just now during the brief chat, you talked about emerging technologies and AR and VR. So most of the people here, you must have seen. I mean, why does it take so long? I mean, on average, new technology takes about 10, 15 years. Whether it's a toaster or it's a blender, doesn't matter, right? It still takes that long. Is there any way that we can speed things up, or from another perspective, is AR or VR going to help us or help the e-commerce merchants when they're driving their sales? Like Pokemon Go is just one of the examples that everybody knows, but because it's built upon the good brands of Pokemon and our childhood memories. But any strategies that they can adopt emerging technologies in helping them?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. Even big companies like Unilever is actually looking into this to make them future-proof. So VR and AR is definitely something crucial for e-commerce. Now there's already a virtual mall on your mobile phone. You can actually use a VR system to go in and shop virtually. You can touch and feel virtually. You can zoom the product, turn it around, even look at the texture very, very clearly. It's all possible. But I think the rate of adoption, it depends on the culture. So just like the previous panel discussion, it totally depends on the culture. So it doesn't mean Western countries will adapt it fast. It depends on the use case strongly. So for example, even Unilever is not looking to deploy this in all the country or across all the brands. They only see this relevant for certain markets.
Okay. Yeah, the culture is a very important thing here. I mean, I stay in Melbourne most of my time, so most of the time, Western country is not the most efficient country that you will see there. Yeah? It takes me about 4 weeks just to renew my driving license. Yeah, in Malaysia, if it takes more than 4 hours to renew your license, people start posting on Facebook already. So that's the key difference. So how it works for the 4 weeks? The first week I go in, I make an appointment. The next week I come in, I make payment. And then, make payment, get the booking day confirmed, schedule for another 2 weeks, just to go there and take a photo, and then wait for my driving license to be sent to me. Yeah, that's how it works. So, okay, that's interesting. So, but from LWE, Shern, from LWE point of view, is your company, you guys have grown so swiftly in the past few years, right? We witnessed that, and you always tell us that data is one of the key driving factor. Can you help to share a little bit like how data actually has helped you in the logistics in terms of, or either that or your operations? Yeah, how data has helped you in growing the company faster, but also fast but not rushing. Like you're growing fast and also stable at the same time. Some of the things that you can learn from. Yeah.
So, okay, one recent example. We have always been known to be a cross-border logistic company. Actually, the founders have a lot of experience. In fact, more than 20 years of experience. Don't start asking how am I.
You're the co-founder.
In domestic courier delivery. So last year we decided to come back and in Malaysia and set up our own delivery team. So we wanted to do it a bit differently because we have a lot of data in our system. So the first thing first is we started to actually plot the data on the map. Okay, go around. And then we started to form heat maps to see, okay, which are the concentration of places that we should focus on so that we have the least burn rate in order for us to do business.
Yeah.
So we started so within about 10 months, we managed to open up to about 8 branches across the entire West Coast, which makes a lot of sense because most business activities are along the West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah. So given that, it also allows us to do a lot of planning. Say, for example, when there's a sales campaign or when there's a festive season, we will get forecasts from our partners. Okay, get forecasts, what kind of numbers that they have. So in order for us to start planning for additional manpower, okay, get additional bikers or drivers to come and help us to fulfill the orders in those really dense, high-density places.
Okay, now, so Diva, your background is in aircraft engineering. So this question always have to come to you, sorry. So, you know, Masala, you talk about, using drone to deliver stuff and stuff like that. And then, but of course, you guys based in Singapore. So Singapore, I work with some of the companies, they have relatively more complete and, rigid frameworks that guides how the drone should fly. How do you guys see that, or how do you see that in Malaysia or even Singapore, how soon we can see those things, like the region moving towards that drone delivery, for example?
Yeah, I mean, for the benefit of the crowd, I think I have the background of aircraft engineering, and then move into biological science.
Yep.
Now I'm in innovation space. So, that's how you should be, right? Agile. So,
Yeah.
so that's confidential. Okay. Yeah. So I think drone delivery. It sounds really, I don't know, futuristic maybe, but they are already using drones for specific use case at this moment, like computer vision. Companies analyzing agri-tech. How do you best yield outcome from that small square space of land? But into delivery of packages, I don't think so, due to a lot of regulatory condition depending on the country. So maybe any of the country that has a better regulatory framework might allow this to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But Singapore, Malaysia, not soon, I think.
Okay. Okay. Now, Erwin, some of the companies, they have, like you guys, they have millions or thousands of tons of SKUs. But most of the people, some of them here, as a startup mentor, also when we advise them when they start their business, or as a small retailer, relatively smaller retailers, they are quite deep into their verticals. Yeah. So, what would be your suggestions for them when it comes to collecting data and analyzing their data to start with?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for no matter it's verticals or horizontal,
Yep.
Collecting data actually come from different dimension, and verticals probably have very specific user base and a target audience to look at. So when you define the collected data, it's much more easier, but also quite difficult because you need to come up with the very unique experience to stand out from the vertical area.
Yeah.
From horizontal, have a lot of varieties, and there's a much bigger, larger user base.
Yep.
And as a much larger of varieties and the categories that you need to track and you need to define. So no matter is verticals or horizontal, very, very fundamental, again, is you need to ensure that you are collecting the quality data.
Yeah.
Don't look at your hardware, how beautiful of your servers, how big is terabytes, or how fast is your RAMs, that one is secondary. The very, very primary sense is no matter you have 30 million of SKU or 1 million of SKU, the more important, very, very fundamental thing is how do you identify a quality of the data? Because when your business grows to multi-millions or even trillions of the volumes, that is very, very difficult to analyze for all those unstructured data.
Yes.
And not quality data. Yeah, so that is a very important point that you have to take note.
So I think let's take that a little bit further, right? So from my point of view, data science is all about optimization, especially, right? It's all about optimization. So in business, there are only two things. It either help you to generate more revenue or help you to cut costs, right? And then how do you optimize different settings or different features or different kind of metrics to achieve that? So maybe I would like to hear from the rest of the panel is that in your industry or in your experience, right? What sort of optimization they can do? There's just one or two advices that you can give them. What are the things that, or based on what Erwin has advised to them, right? Okay, so to find quality data, but what is the true north that they should be setting? Should I just be focusing on keeping the customers happy and then track their customer experience, focusing on getting more 5 stars? No, that's for Grab and Uber, never mind. But for their point of view is that what are the things that they should be keep tracking on? Like, for example, should I keep focusing on shorten the delivery time, or should I focus on, deliver after 5, or things like that? What should they be watching out? Yeah.
to me, I'm looking at this. We are always the last touch point before any e-commerce orders are being delivered to your buyers. So we talk about, so we are always the one responsible for your customers' happiness lah, in that sense lah. So when that happens, we would like sellers to actually work closer with us, optimize your data, have more attributes, try to find ways to actually work with us. You know, if you can see certain trends coming, certain SKU is going to grow, this kind of information can give it to us earlier. Try to work it out, especially when it comes to festive season.
Seasonality,
So,
yeah.
So we work with a lot of marketplaces when it comes to cross-border deliveries into various countries, Southeast Asia. During normal days, you're talking about 10, 20,000 parcels into Southeast Asia. But suddenly you have a Double 11, you can scale all the way up to 60, 70,000 parcels a day. So how is any company who's going to be able to deliver in such a short period of time with that kind of 4 to 5 times kind of capacity? So the only way to do it basically is you must be able to use tech to expand fast. That's beside the point. But how much to do it? So that's why a lot of marketplaces, a lot of sellers, they will start doing their homework. Okay, what are the trends that I see? They give us data 1 to 2 weeks before that. This is where we take 1 to 2 weeks to start preparing them in terms of getting additional manpower and then working with our last mile companies to make sure that during the actual sales period, the orders can be fulfilled within expectation.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I can share with you one of the startups' journey that I personally find very interesting. So you guys heard about Katsana? Some of you know about Katsana. Yep. So they started off as a GPS tracking company. It's all because the founder's brother's car got lost. So he just wanted to solve this problem by just putting, GPS tracking devices. He struggled a lot to sell that device. So, I mean, that was the core business. The moment he sold about 1,000 of this device, he saw the other part of the business, which is the data. So a lot of data started to come into the system, and he started to shift from GPS tracking device company into telemetrics company. So from just the data, he knows whether the driver is male or female, whether you're married or not married, whether you have kids or not, whether you're a good driver, bad driver, all of this data. And he started to shift his whole business model into customer or driver scoring. He's working with a lot of insurance company at this moment, and also automotive company to actually embed the solution. So what makes the money for him is the data and not the GPS tracking device.
Yeah. Fukaha actually said that female are actually better drivers. From the data shows us that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So for my point of view is you need to focus. Just now, Dr. Lawson mentions that what kind of metrics that you should track. Actually, it depends on what would you like to know. And don't be too greedy. There's too many metrics and too many dimensions that you can track. But identify the most important 1 or 2 items that you want to track. Start from there. Start from small. After that, you will realize that how far are you to collecting the data? How far are you to understand the customer? For example, you are running a platforms that, providing e-commerce, then you want to understand how your customer behavior in your platform. There's so many metrics out there you can track. How they utilize your shopping carts, how do they browse through the advertisements, how do they select the products, after they click on the electronics product, are they going through household products? There are so many metrics, so be focused, identify, if you're just started, identify 1 or 2 key important metrics that you think will help to boost your business, and start from there, and you started to accumulate your experience, and choose the right tools, choose the right team. It's long-term progress.
Yep. Yeah. That's really useful advice. I mean, I would love that sort of advice before. I would love to know that before I started my own startup last time. Okay, so let's to wrap things up, and before we go into Q&A, where you can see that the questions are converging, right? So, and I conducted a workshop before this to talk about things like product recommendation, profiling, data, and stuff like that. So many of you are, you have heard many times times, whether you heard from my videos, you heard from Jack Ma, Bill Gates, everybody is talking about big data, data science. And here at Magic, my background, I was formerly the academic director of Magic, so I understand that most of you might not consider yourself as startups, but in fact you are a startup. You're starting out your business. You are beginning to turn into an online business, online stores, for example. So one of the definitions of startup is high growth and then highly scalable. So I would like to hear from, again, you can look at the dress code, what stage of startups that we are at, right? Okay, so just your one-liner, your advice to them. So if they want to consider themselves a startup, how do they high grow, high scale? So either from the growth point of view or from the scaling point of view, either one. Yeah, thanks.
I think always think about how you're going to leverage. So are you going to do from operations to marketing, from head to tail, all on your own? Or you're going to work with partners who is able to help you to do your fulfillment, your deliveries, you can learn about marketing, digital marketing, but you also need experts to teach you. So how are you going to leverage on this expertise out there?
Yeah, very good, thanks.
I think from my perspective, I'll go to the fundamentals. To us, we believe that data is like roads. Roads lead you to a destination. So data should be leading you to a decision. So make decisions based on data and not just gut feeling. So make crucial moves or decisions in your organizations, like decide your customer segment or market, or even what product you should sell based on data that's available out there and not just gut feeling. Yeah, so that will take you very far.
Don't look at my dress code. I actually, I'm the entrepreneur before, so I started my business 7 years ago in Singapore. So last year I sold to PUC, so I joined the group, become a group CTO, and now we have 11th Street as an e-commerce platform. So along the ways, I realized that no matter it's e-commerce, m-commerce, big data, AI, chatbot, you can name it. I mean, everyone here can name a lot of technology. These are just tools. No matter you are running a business or you are opening our shops online, be it O2O, B2C, B2B, O2C, whatever things that C to B to C, or a lot of things come out, O2O. It's just a tools that facilitate your business. So fundamentally, what is your business and what you want to achieve is very, very important, because from here, you are able to define what is the right tools and what is the right channel, or what is the right data and what is the right functions and the directions that you want to stand out. Because in this world right now, if you don't know yourself, if you really don't know what kind of things, what kind of services you can uniquely identify and to move on, you will be out from the trend very, very fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap things up, as a startup mentor, we witness a lot of things, ups and downs. People tell you 8 out of 10 startups will die, only 10 to 20% of startups will survive. That's because they do one thing. From the data point of view, they like to do one thing. In Malay, in Bahasa, they say, ada data, ubah data. Tak ada data, ubah fakta. That's what they always do. Data don't lie. Okay, who is lying? The people is the one who is lying, who are lying. Okay, they want to raise more fund. They go and tell the investor that, look, this is my traction. Actually, their monthly active user very little. They got all their friends and family to sign up, for example. You heard a lot of stories about this. So I think they come from a very different point of view, but we all converge at the point is that we all agree that data is the future, and come on, I don't have to hard sell data to you anymore, right? Data is going to help you. But what is stopping you to embrace the data culture is that if one day you started to do that, believe the data, believe in yourself. Sometimes your instincts are right, but data is the road, and then it helps you to make decisions, right? So once you start embracing it, believe in that, work with your models, and most importantly, don't lie to yourself. Okay? Now, we have a bit of time left for Q&As, right? Yeah. Mike. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. Statistically speaking, this is the quietest moment of the whole day. Yeah. Q&A session. Yeah. Okay. There's one guy here. Excuse me. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Just now, Erwin got mentioned about the quality data. Okay, so and the structure of the quality data, and then for a starter to collecting the data from the e-commerce, we got zero knowledge about the data science. So where should we start from? I mean, how to determine the quality of this data? What is the things we need to care about it?
Okay, I repeat your questions that you correct me if I'm wrong. So you're asking that what is the definitions of a quality of data? So no matter if it's for a startup or it's an established company. Okay, you need definitely you need a specialized specialist here to help. Not just simply you get a marketing guys or get a salespeople just sit down and brainstorm what is the quality of data. But ultimately, quality of data doesn't mean that purely come from technical. It's derived from the business need. Okay, I take an example. Like if you want to understand your customer, okay, so during the registration process, what kind of information you want to keep track? Okay, for example, that you want to keep track, you want to know their mobile numbers, their names, their address. So this is technical, but okay, you cannot just simply that phone number, name, address, one box. Okay, people just anyhow key in anything. So how do you prevent them keying anything from front end? And how do you break it down more meaningful from the back end perspective? It's easier for your data science team to analyze further, So, for example, you don't need them to key in how old are you to this year. You just need to collect their date of birth. But date of birth, you don't just ask them to key in one box because people might key in YYMMDD. Some people will DDMMYY. This one is not the quality of data. You have to really define how do you differentiate the data fields and how do you want to derive from there. Because from the birthday, this one simple field, any point of time, any years, you can identify this, my customer is 25 years old, 26 years old, This is just one example. So one of the quality data definitions is come from here. Yeah.
Maybe just to add on that, I think you are coming from a very start point of perspective, right? I mean, to start with, even just analyzing the traffic coming into their site is sufficient. Start from there. Make sure you even capture that data. I'm sure the e-commerce platform that you're going to go on already have some analytics tool within it. Make sure you subscribe to that, get some insights. That's to get you going, to give you some overview of what kind of essential data that you can collect from the beginning. The moment your store gets a lot of traction, your product gets, your SKU gets more, then you look into probably a proper place to store the data, to analyze the data, and etc.
I think from let's say in digital marketing practice, right? Sometimes we ask them to enter their email twice, for example. Sometimes you just have to be creative a little bit. You said that, from e-commerce point of view, enter your email so they will send you a 50 ringgit voucher. Okay lah, you want to enter a wrong email, that's too bad lah. So I think because we train data scientists as well, so not everybody has the technicality or the technical knowledge to know that. But sometimes you just have to be creative, and then like what Divakar and Erwin said, utilize the tools. There are a lot of free tools out there that can help you to do that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, if you could recommend one book, whether it's directly or indirectly related to data for e-commerce, would you suggest one, please?
Sorry, one book, huh?
One book.
Oh.
From my perspective, it's Google. Everything is there. There's no one book.
But
to
the
me.
issue with Google, the issue with Google is we have to know what we're searching for. And
Exactly.
Then we can, yeah.
So I think that's where the strategy comes in. So if you know what you're going to sell and where you're going to lead with that product, you start with that question, and then eventually you will understand. I think market research is very important. Although big companies are engaging external companies to do market research alone, you can do that from your own capacity to start with. I think that's a good start to even understand whether your product is viable, right? Your whole project is going to go forward or not. Because a lot of people just go ahead and just because the bandwagon is going towards that route, they just jump on and put on all the fashion stuff and try to sell, but nothing really happens because too many people trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
I think if I were you, I wouldn't be reading. I would look for Dr. Lau first.
Come to my class.
I think it's not just simply one book. Actually, what you want to know. Because in the markets, there are so many different types of books. If you do Google's big data, there are big data dummy, teach you from step 1 to step 10, and there are big data's history, how the big data derive and evolve. Actually, there's a lot of experts here, but I just want to mention again, actually, big data may not be a correct words to use.
Just look at his dictionary.
Yeah. Big data actually referring to trillions of data processing. When these terms, this is a very good, when these terms come up in the industry, big data actually referring to trillions of data, then processing is very messy and very unstructured. How do we find the right information from there? But because along the ways, these terms have been used many times. So if you ask me, big data is really have a lot of different definitions. You need to understand what you want to know. If you're a beginner, look for dummies book. If you are in specific industry, there are specific areas like in e-commerce. How does a big data applies in e-commerce? How does the big data applies in insurance company? How does the big data applies in medical industry? So there are so many different industry and books that can help you to understand this area. Yeah.
So I have to exercise my power a little bit as a moderator. So I will summarize what they say. Yeah? Okay, so number 1, big data. Big data, just like Erwin said, in layman's terms, is the amount of data has grown so beyond the capabilities of current machines that are able to handle. Whether from a machine point of view, hardware point of view, or whether is it from an algorithm point of view, just the current one just cannot handle. Excel cannot take it anymore. SPSS cannot take it anymore. So we need newer software, newer hardware, newer algorithms to take in those things, deep learning and stuff. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, if you need a book, right, like what Diva said, I know your pain point is you don't know what terms to Google, right? Even if you run to Google, like earlier on when I run the section, they say, oh, this thing is called customer segmentation, but probably they search for customer profiling, for example. So you look at the book written by Berhad. He wrote 2 books. The second book that he wrote, he covered a lot of use cases, okay, from Disney, from Target, although they are more towards the US market, but you know the use cases, or Shell even, right? How they use big data to help them to move. Sometimes they help in optimizing the workflow, the processes. Sometimes they help them to increase their sales. Sometimes to cut costs to understand their customers better. But it covers a lot from the commerce, okay, or business perspective. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3, Shern advice. Just come and talk to me. That'll be the easiest. Okay. Good question. Thank you very much. Okay, we still got time, yeah? You can take another 1 to 2 questions. It's okay, yeah, he's...
I used to read up a lot about big data and AI, and I feel like, as you said, this term has been thrown around so much that no one really knows the origin.
Abuse and misuse, yes.
And one thing I read, which I find very accurate, is they said, big data is like teenage sex. Everyone's talking about it, but no one knows what it is.
Yep.
So I'm actually curious. So in this field of big data, let's say I'm a 30-something-year-old and I would like to retrain myself. Is it feasible in a way to work in that industry?
Definitely. Yeah. I think age is just a number. It's how much you actually want. to know about it. If you have the interest, I think there's a lot of tools out there. GitHub is there for you. You can go in, understand how the process is done. People actually put up their project over there with all the source codes, so you can understand.
Kaggle.
Kaggle, yeah, it's all out there. It's just how much you want. I can share a small example. So one of the startup we had during the accelerator from Philippines, he started his company deciding not to sign up for the university. The father gave him 2,000 pesos to go and enroll. Instead, he bought a domain, and he has no knowledge of programming or anything like that, but he had a very good vision to solve his national problem, which he feels there's not much data in the country to know what is the main economic source. So he started just by putting up a website, by learning from YouTube. So he locked himself in his room, learned everything from scratch, built a complete website. Now the website is adapted by the City Planning Office of Davao to deploy across the whole city. And after deploying, they found out that cocoa is the main contributor of the economic for that region. Before that,
what's the main contributor?
Cocoa.
Oh, okay, cocoa.
Cocoa plantation.
Yep.
So prior to that, they didn't know that the highest income source for the people around the region was from cocoa. It was misinterpreted of fishing. Yeah. So data showed the value, and it's all from that 2,000 pesos.
Definitely, age is not an issue. I've been 30, right? 30 or 30. Why I'm saying not an issue, I'm not going to disclose my age here. When I'm 33 years old, okay, sounds very far away.
Yeah, that's why, the way you make it sound.
When I'm 33 years old, when I started my business, I know nothing, zero knowledge about business, and started from myself in a study room. And after that, 7 years later, I grew to about 10 million company. And I spent $0 in the marketing fees. Yeah, so a lot of internet startups, they all started very young, like 20, 25, or 26, but I started 33. So to me, it's very old. But don't look at age, but look at what you want.
Yeah.
And tools will change. Last times we have COBOLs, then after that Fortrans, then after that comes C++, then after that comes Java. Okay, the more I say, the more disclose my age. Then after that come with .NETs, come with the C-sharps, But fundamental doesn't change. Why? Because these are just a language.
Yes.
These are just a language, and it's a tool. It doesn't matter which one is more trendy. Doesn't matter that which one is more powerful, as long as it's achieve what you want to do. So not necessary to chase for the latest technology. Always remember, technology is to facilitate what you want to do. So you have to pick the right one. What is the most suitable for you? Go for it. Just like you pick your wife, your husbands. So many handsome guys here, but you won't pick them as your husband. You will pick the ones that right for you as a husband. You will pick the right one for you as your wife. So it points out the fundamentals is what you want to achieve, no matter which age you are and how old you are. So be brave and embrace the new changes, and you will be there. Yeah.
Thanks.
I think, right, if you look at our Prime Minister, right, nobody can be too old. But jokes aside, I think in your 30s coming into something, it's actually a very good balance. I started the business when I was also 30. There's something, it's good because you got some experience over there, you got some confidence, you got some exposure over there. The question is, you have to ask yourself, your current skill sets, what can you take from there and go further, okay? And what do you really want to go into? Then, of course, there are a lot of expertise out there you can learn from. Being at this age, you're at a very comfortable time to connect to different people to ask the right questions.
So what's your background? Bioscience. So you are bioscientist. That means that you are a scientist in the sense, right? So you know the scientific methods, you know the scientific approach and stuff. So like what they say, right? Big data is really just the two sides. So I would suggest you look more on the data science side, and then long story short, TLDR, no, not hard at all. Yeah. So you're like. Echoing what they say, you are at the right age, so you are matured enough that you know what you want, and then you know what you are pursuing. So just to fill out the gaps by reading a lot or talking to people like us, and then you know that you are able to tell who is bullshitting you, and then what are the things that you shouldn't learn, then you are in a good spot. Yeah. Don't worry, go for it, yeah?
Yeah, I think I was in your shoe as well, because aircraft engineering is one area, and biological science is, I think, totally opposite.
Yeah, your background is also yeah.
Yeah, but I did both, and I find it both interesting. And after completing that, I went into business development. Because eventually what I understood from a business perspective is, if you have all the technology and you don't know how to sell it, there's no point at all. You can't really either, the whole world is about either make money or cutting costs, like what Dr. Lau mentioned.
Yeah.
So adapting, I did adapt at your age as well. So I think it shouldn't be a major challenge. Yeah.
Well, I think it's very good that if you have a different varieties of background. Why I'm saying this is, for example, I'm studying the computer science during university. But I don't just pick all the computer science language as my main subjects. I pick bio, I pick astronomy. You go to the mountains with sea stars. I look at how the cell works, and I understand I play violins. I understand the music, how the music touch the people's heart. All these things actually boils up to one very fundamental thing is, eventually you will understand that all this knowledge actually is shareable. In Chinese, I don't know how to say in English, but in Chinese we call 触类旁通. Okay? Meaning that even there's a different varieties of knowledge, but they share a very common basic information. That's that whether are you able to find out this information. There are people that realize that how the bio cell works that helps them to develop their logics and develops their process in totally different industry by mimic how the things work and apply to the different industry. So don't just focus yourself in just one specific area. You will be stuck and trapped. Yeah. The world is changing every day, business or environments and everything, but one thing don't change. And one thing that you can control. The environment you cannot control. The one thing you can control is yourself. How do you improve yourselves to gain the necessary ability? So even though the environment change, you still can survive, you still can evolve, you still can move forward.
I think what Erwin said is very correct. It applies to all of you as e-commerce merchants. Is that don't believe in specializations. Those are masaleh stuff. The Westerner people create those sort of theories just to bluff the Asians. Okay, so don't buy that. Seriously, don't buy that. Asians are very good at generalization. The only one in Western culture that is very good at doing that is Elon Musk from Tesla. He's a super genius in generalizing things. So once you generalize things enough, you understand the fundamentals, right? Then, yeah, you are good to go. So as an e-commerce merchant, you need to know design, you need to know how to create banners, you need to know digital marketing, copywriting, everything. Yeah, you have to learn all this. Okay, I know it's time for, are they lucky draw stuff or gifts for speakers? Okay, I know the answer. Those are gifts from the speakers. But if I can borrow 2 more minutes, just one more question that is very specific to data analytics or data science in e-commerce. Anyone? Raise your hand if you have a burning question that's related to e-commerce, data science, analytics. That will help you all. I really want you all to get more value from us. It's very hard to get these 3 experts here. Yeah. Confirm, it's related to e-commerce, data science, and analytics. You know.
Many of my friends are doing programming, working with Amazon or Google, and I have questions for Padang and Co. So since there are so many competitors out there, how do you see the future of what you're doing, digging the data with your Python or whatever? And since you're not coming from the background of computer science, how do you make sure that you are the best and you can serve us, the business owner, well with the data so that we can optimize that?
Okay. All right. So if I understand your question correctly, because what we do is data innovation. So data innovation is pretty much connecting problem owners to problem solvers. Problem solvers are usually startups or tech people, hackers out there, ready to grow because they have the expertise. Problem owners are corporates, big companies. So you work with a wide range of companies. We work with Singapore Airlines, Boeing, Airbus, one area. We work Cargill, Syngenta. We work with MUFG. We work with a lot of corporates. Everyone have a specific challenge statement from their own company. So it can come from data perspective or AI, but they don't have an internal expertise to solve it. That is the key ground that we function. So we then connect the right startup, we filter through them, we run hackathons, we run scouting programs, we get them to pitch, and then those who successfully able to demonstrate the solution gets a pilot with the corporate. So it's not just for fun, but there's a real life outcome from the whole process. Yeah.
Okay, that answers the question. So who are the problem creators? All right. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Yeah. So once again, round of applause for my panelist members. All right, thank you very much. Thanks, Divakar. Thanks, Papa.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.